Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's Daf Hayomi. Menachos Daf Daled. We begin 9 lines from the top of the Amud at the 2 dots. So it's Chutz miminchas choite. It's a quote from the Mishnah. Any mincha, right? Generally, a mincha that was done sheloi lishma, with the wrong intention in mind. So he's doing, mincha A, thinking that it's mincha B, and expressing it as such. The mincha is kosher. So the mincha per se works, except that it doesn't count for the sake of its owner, meaning he has to bring another one. There are 2 exceptions to this rule, where in these cases the mincha itself is pasul. Chutz miminchas choite, that's a mincha that a sinner brings, that's to atone for an aveira. Uminchas knois that a soita brings. So what are the sources for these exceptions? Says the Gemara Bishleima minchas choite. I understand why minchas choite is disqualified if it's done shaloi lishma. Very simple. Chatos kayi rachmana, because the Torah calls it a chatos. Rashi brings the pasuk. The Gemara brings the pasuk ki chatosi. Lo yosem aleh shemen, right? Lo yiten aleh lavoina ki chatosi. Pasuk says, don't add oil, lavoina, because it is a form of chatos. Right? So Rashi explains, as we know from Maseches Vachim, that a chatos, in fact, is pasul. An animal chatos is pasul if it's shalei lishma. Afhi psula shalei lishma, says Rashi. Likewise, a minchas choite, which is pretty much another variation of a chatos, as per the pasuk's labeling of it as such, is treated like a chatos, and if it's shalei lishma, it's pasul. That explains minchas choite. Ela minchas knois minol. What about minchas knois? How do we know that when it's done shalei lishma, it is absolutely pasul? The Tani Tanakh made Rav Nachman. There was an Amir represented to Rav Nachman the following halacha: minchas knois. So it was actually a brisa. Minchas knois moisra nedava. The moisra, the leftover money of a minchas knois. Suppose he set aside too much money and he has some leftover. What happens to the extra money that he did not need for the mincha of the soita? Moisra nedava. The extra goes to nedava. Rashi explains. There were these pushkas. They called them shayfaris. They were shaped like a shayfar. Yonah Diyayma, shaped like a shayfar, narrow top and wide bottom. They would throw in the extra money in there, and they would use it. The Kohanim would use it to buy karbanos oila that were brought on the mizbeach. It was like a public donation. Nedavas tzibur, says Rashi. So those oilos were purchased from these monies, these extra monies, which incidentally is the same process used by moiser of chatas money. If there's extra chatas money, it also ends up in the same status, and it's used to buy the karbanos tzibur, the davos tzibur. So the chiddush here was that just as the extra chatas money is used for this purpose, same for the extra minchas knois money. Amalei, so the Rav Nachman responded, Shapik Amris, 100%, you're right on. Why is a minchas knois treated the same as a chatas with respect to this extra money? Maskeras oven ksipa. Look what the Torah calls the minchas knois, maskeras oven. It uses the term oven, which is similar to the term used by chatas. By chatas, likewise, it says the word oven. So we compare oven to oven, right, with exera shava. We say ma chatas, moisra nedava, just like the extra money of a chatas is used for nedava. Same with the extra minchas knois money. Af minchas knois, moisra nedava. Furthermore, says the Gemara, based on this exera shava of connecting the minchas knois to the chatas with respect to the moisar, the leftovers, likewise with respect to the status of the primary covenant regarding shalei lishma. We compare the two. Uke chatas. Let's compare the minchas knois to the chatas all the way. Ma chatas psula shalei lishma, just like a chatas shalei lishma is pasul. Av Minchas Knois, likewise this Mincha, is Psula Shlei Lishma. There you go. So that's the source that Minchas Knois Shlei Lishma is possible. Says the Gemara, if that's the case, that this Gzera Shava is used to teach, even regarding Shlei Lishma, L'mi'ata Asham Yehi Pasal Shlei Lishma. So what an Asham, an animal carbon, an Asham that was done Shlei Lishma, should be Pasal, completely Pasal. Why? By way of this same Gzera Shava, because we also find the word Avoin, or actually Rashi brings the pasuk. We had the word Avoinoi, which is very similar to Avoin by the Asham, that allows for a connection to the Chatos. That Sheloi Lishma is possible. The Gomer Avoin Mechatos. Let us learn. Let us compare the Asham to the Chatos by way of this very same Gzera Shava. Answers the Gemara, it's not identical. The words aren't identical. We can only learn Danan. We can learn Avoin Me'avoin. The Minchas Knois where it says Avin. From the Chatas where too it says Avin. But you can't learn the Yasham where it's a different word. It's Avoinoi. You've ain't done an Avoinoi mi Avin. Well, it's all the same thing. The meaning is the same. Who cares about the grammar? Manaf Keminava, Tana Yerushalayim. We learned this many times. Vishav Akoin, Nevo Akoin, by the Metzora, by the house that has a nega. The Kohen returned, Vishav, Uvo, he came. It's all the same thing. It means he came to the house. So we compare the two stories regarding halachas. Zui Shiva, Zui Via, come, returning, coming, it's all the same thing. So the grammatical difference doesn't really concern us as long as the meaning is the same. Likewise, let's compare the Asham to the Chatas by way of Avoinoi and Avoin. V'oid, furthermore, are we concerned about the grammar? Ligmar Avoinoi Avoinoi, Avoin Dishmi Es HaKoil. Let's take the Asham where it says Avoinoi and compare it to a different form of Chatas, another variation of Chatas called Shmi Es HaKoil, Rashi brings. Shmi Es HaKoil is a form of Chatas. That's where, he swore, claiming that he didn't have any testimony, etc. So it's also a case where he brings a Chatas. And there it says, Avoinoi, T'chsiv imloi yagid v'nasa avoinoi. So it's exactly the same word, Avoinoi, Avoinoi. Let's compare the two. Just like by a Chatas. Shloi l'shma is possible, the same with the Yasham. Says the Gemara, you're right. This Gzera Shava cannot teach us anything regarding Shloi Lishma. Elo ki gmira Gzera Shava. Rather, this Gzera Shava mentioned earlier between Minchas, Soita, and a regular Chatas. Elo ki gmira Gzera Shava. L'moisun adavo degam. It's only regarding teaching us halachas for extras. That the leftover monies goes to Nadava, that's all. Not regarding Shloi Lishma. And therefore, the Asham cannot either learn anything regarding Shloi Lishma from the Chatas. And soon the Gemara will ask us, so if that's the case, how do we know? Back to the question, how do we know that Minchas Knois is possible Shloi Lishma if we can't learn it by way of the Gzera Shava? We'll get to it in a second. But first, a more basic question. We know that typically a Gzera Shava cannot be spliced. It's a two-way street. Perhaps ein Gzera Shava lemechza. You can't split a Gzera Shava into two. You can't limit, the Gzera Shava and only learn one thing. Transfer one halacha through the Gzera Shava. You learn everything you can learn. It's an open conduit. So if we learn regarding leftovers, we should learn regarding Shloi Lishma. The answer is Shloi Lishma is different because Gali Rachmana Gabe Chatas. The Torah indicates to us, teaches that regarding a Chatas only do we say Shloi Lishma is possible. V'shachat Oisa Lachatas. We learn from there Oisa. Lishma Kshera, Shloi Lishma Psula. That only regarding a Chatas is Shloi Lishma critical. Aval Kol Kachim regarding other karbonis, whether it's an Asham, whether it's Minchas Knois. Bein Lishman, Bein Shloi Lishma Kshera, whether it's Lishman or Shloi Lishma, the carbon itself is kosher. So back to the question. What about Minchas Chayte, Minchas Knois? Why are they Pasal Shloi Lishma? Ela Minchas Chayte, Minchas Knois, the Psul Shloi Lishma Minel, how do we know? If not from the Chatas. The answer is like this. They have their own source, their internal indicator. Because Chatas Taimamai, why is it Chatas? An animal Chatas, why is it Pasal Shloi Lishma? Because it says he in the Torah. He means the way it's meant to be, without deviation. Achanami here as well. Haksibu he. Over here by the Minchas Knois, Minchas Chayte also has the same lashon he to tell us absoluteness. Shloi Lishma is possible. Ask the Gemara, hold it, what about the Asham? Asham Nami. Haksiba Behu. By the Asham as well, it says who. Why don't we apply the same halacha there? The answer is who. That word who, by the Asham, is discussed where? La'achar haktaras emurim l'chsiv, that's discussed after they burn the fats on the mizbeach, and being that it's stated that in that context, that's the greatest indicator that it's not critical. Why? Because the whole process of burning the fats is not really critical. Because the Sanyas, we're learning the Brisa, Aval Asham, but regarding an Asham, the word who is only stated, El Lachar Torah Simurin, after they burn the fats. Vu Atzman, the Asham itself doesn't really need that. I mean, you're supposed to, but if you miss it, it's still kosher, so you can't learn this to be anything regarding criticality of the carbon. Even if it's missing the whole emurim, it's kosher. So apparently the word who is not telling you anything absolute, or certainly that Shlei Lishma is going to be makif. Ve'lehu lamali. Okay, so then why does the pasuk even bother saying the word who if it's not indicating anything critical? Right? Who indicates absoluteness, but over here it doesn't have that connotation. What's the purpose of the word who? For a different point. Lamalik Rav Huna Amarav. As we learned, Asham Meshanitek Luria. So we have an extra Asham which is meant to be sent out to pasture. Give it to the shepherd, run around with it, get it blemished, and allow it to get blemished and sell it, use the money to buy an oila. So nitak means it was disengaged. It was sent off to the l'riyah to get pasture. It was given to the shepherd. And now, if the owner didn't bother waiting around, he just went ahead and did a shchita, v'shachtei stam, and did it without anything specific in mind. Kasher l'shem oila. Lo and behold, it becomes an oila. It's considered an oila. Why? Because although it's not yet blemished, not yet transferred and converted to an oila, but since it's destined for an oila, in terms of its value, it's meant to be converted into an oila, it already has that oila element within it, and if you do shechita without anything in mind, it is by default an oila. And we learned that only nitak only when it was sent away and given to the shepherd for this purpose. So now it sort of got transformed in terms of its status, and it was labeled as a pseudo oila, loy nitak loy. But otherwise, if it was still here, not yet given to the shepherd, it doesn't have this leniency. And if you shech that it's possible, it's really meant to be an asham at this point. Amakron, that's based on this pasuk. Who says leave it as is? Leave it as is, unless you change its status by giving it to the raya. Okay, so again, let's recap. We had the Mishnah where we learned that minchas choyte, minchas knois, apostles shlo lishma. Ultimately, the source was the word he. Here comes an interesting halacha. So we learn in the Mishnah that typically a mincha is kosher. Even shlo lishma, it's kosher, but the owner has to rebring it. Amar Rav, here's an exception to the rule. Minchas ha'omer should come to shlo lishma. You have the mincha that the tzibur brings once a year, right, on Pesach. Minchas ha'omer made of barley. And the primary purpose is to be mater the new crop, to render it no longer chadash, right? The new crop chadash, anything grown until then is asur to eat until the minchas ha'omer is brought, and then you can eat the new crop. So it's basically called a mater. It's mater, permits the new crop. Suppose the minchas ha'omer was done shlei lishma. So again, you would say the actual mincha is still kosher. You process it, but you hadn't really accomplished what it's supposed to accomplish. You have to rebring it, right? In order to be mater the new crop. Says Rav, no. Because since the primary objective of this mincha is to be mater and had not accomplished its objective, it renders it obsolete. And it's possible. Amar Rav, minchas ha'omer shekmata shelo lishma. And minchas ha'omer, if the kmitza was not shelo lishma, psula, it's completely possible. Why? Why different than a regular mincha where it's still kosher? Hoil, since ubas lahater, the primary objective was to be mater the new crop, and it hadn't accomplished that objective. It's a failed mincha. V'lo yitiro, that's why it's possible. And likewise, let's take it a step further. Regarding animal karbanos, if we have a case, if we can find an instance where the carbon is meant to be machshir, which means to say it's meant to enable its owner to complete his purification process, whether it's by the metzora, whether it's by the nazar to complete his nazirus. So it's more than just a carbon. Its primary objective is to be matir, to be machshir the owner, to accomplish something regarding its owner. So by shlei lishma, where it can't do that, as we explained many times, because it can't really count for the sake of its owner, It turns out now that he's worse than a regular carbon because he set out to accomplish something, which it didn't. It's a failed carbon. It has to be rendered like a possible carbon. Okay, we turn to Talmud base. They're completely possible. It's not like they're kosher, but the owner has to redo it. No, they're completely possible. You burn it. Why? Why? For a similar reason, like the Menachos that set out to accomplish something in particular, and it couldn't do it. Since they specifically came to be machshir, and they haven't done it, so they're a failed korban. Tanan, now comes a kasha. Mishnah doesn't mention this as an exception. Mishnah says Minchas Choite, Minchas Knois are puzzle. If Shalei Lishma, but nothing regarding Minchas Omer being puzzle. Shalei Lishma Tanan, Kol Menachos Shnikatsu Shalei Lishma Ksheros, they're fully fine. Elo Shalei Lebal Shem Chayva, they only has to rebring it. Fine. We have two exceptions. Chutz Minchas Choite, Minchas Knois. V'misa, now if this is correct, the Minchas Omer should also be on the list of exceptions. Listen, Nami Chutz Minchas Omer. So why isn't that mentioned in the list of failed Menachos? The answer is the Mishnah is not going into this particular realm of a public mincha with all kinds of special conditions attached. We're speaking about a regular private mincha. That's why the Mishnah doesn't mention it. But of course, the halacha truly exists. Kiktani, the Mishnah only mentions ba yachad, a private mincha, ba tzibur like tani. We don't discuss a public mincha. Another distinction is kiktani ba b'glal atzma. We only discuss minchas that come on their own. Ba b'glal zevach like tani, as opposed to minchas which comes on account of a carbon. Comes with a sheep. Third distinction, Kiktani, we only discuss Hanach She'en Kibol Lezman, those minchas which are not time sensitive. Hada Kibol Lezman, like Tani, we don't discuss minchas which is a time related mincha. But in terms of the halacha, you certainly can argue that the halacha is true. Amamar. Let's now focus on the second part of Rav's statement, which was same or similar reasoning is applied to a Ba'asham Nazir, Ba'asham Metzora, Shachal Shalishman Psul, Shalishman not completely puzzle. Why? For similar reasons. Since they set out to accomplish hechsher and they were unsuccessful in that realm, they're puzzled. Tanan. Let's go back. Let's go back for a minute to beginning of Maseches Zvachim, where the Mishnah delineates the halachas of animal karbonis. There's no mention of Hasham Nasr, Hasham Metzora being puzzled when they were done Shalei Lishman. Tanan, Kol Zvachim Sheshachim Shalei Lishman Ksher, all karbonis that were done Shaloi Lishman are kosher, right? The carbon itself is kasher, and El Shaloi El Bal Mishum Chayva, but the owner has to redo it. We have two exceptions, Chutz Pesach, V'chatas, right? V'misa, but if this is true, listening Nami should also state Chutz Ma'asham Nasim, V'asham Etzer, they too are possible Shaloi Lishman for your reason, because the Bo La'achshav, they came to be Machshan, they couldn't do it. The answer is, we don't want to get people confused. Once we start mentioning Asham, people will confuse this with other Ashams. Given the Ika Asham Gzelos, Asham Elois. There are other types of Ashams, Gzelos and Elois, L'chapara also, where this principle wouldn't apply because they're coming to atone. So they're treated like any other carbon, even Shalei Lishma are kosher, although they don't count for the owner, but the carbon is kosher. So it wasn't, easy, clear cut for the Tana to, refer to the Ashams as exceptions because people will confuse them with other Ashams and we don't want to get involved in that, get people confused. But certainly the Asham Nazir and Asham Metzora are true exceptions because they are Machshirin and if they're Shalei Lishma, they're possible. Ask the Gemara, but why? Why this distinction? Ma'ishna Asham Nazir, Asham Metzora. Why are you setting them apart? Because the Bo La'achshav Le'echshiru. They set out to be machshir and they couldn't do it. So they're failed projects. Well, Hani Nami, here too, the Asham, Gzeles, Asham Elis, although they're not being machshir, but they're coming to be machaper. And since Shalei Lishma makes them, takes away their kapara abilities, so let them be puzzle. Just as you say, a machshir who failed in his mission is possible. Likewise, a mechaper who failed in his mission should be possible. Haninami, bol kapara of loikip. Amar B'Yirmiyah. There's a difference. Matzina shechilik hakasav. we find that the Torah drew a line between those that are mechaper and those that are machshir. Ben mechaper, ben machshir. It seems like, we'll see from the halachas, that the machshir is more sort of tied to its owner. He's coming to machshir the owner. And if he can't do it, he's possible. Whereas a mechaper has a life of its own, so to speak. So even if he could not accomplish kapara, the korban itself per se is still kosher. Motzina shechilek hakos ben mechaper or ben machshir. In what sense do you see this? What do we see this manifesting? Let's say the owner died. You can still bring his mechaper, but you can't bring his machshir. Apparently, the machshir is so integrated with its owner. There's no owner, there's no machshir. Likewise, if he can't accomplish the machshir, then he's a failed korban. Mechaper ispu the asu lachar misa. By korbanos that are mechaper, we find that they can be brought even after the owner's death. Apparently, they have a life of their own, and they can be kosher, irrespective of the owner's involvement. As opposed to machshir, like the ashab nazir, ashab mitzvah, less behu the asu lachar misa. We don't find that you still bring them after the owner died. Apparently, they're so integrated with their owners, so connected with the baalim. And therefore, after death, they're not relevant. And therefore, if they can't be machshir, again, they're not relevant. This none. Where do we find this chiluk of lachar misa? We have a isha who gave birth. She's meant to bring a chatas, to be machshir her, to eat karbanos, to eat kachim. And then she brings an oila as well, which Rashi says is coming to be mechaper. It's not an isha shavia chatasa. Let's say she processed the chatas. Umeis, and then she died. So the machshir was taken care of properly during her lifetime. And now we're just left with the oila. Go ahead, bring it. You'll view Yorshin oila, so the Yorshin can bring the oila. Apparently a mechaper could come in afterwards, but a machshir can't. But oila so mesa, suppose she processed her oila and then she died, you can't bring the chatas. Because a machshir requires its owner's presence. Lo yaviu Yorshin chatasa. Ask the Gemara. Maskal Rav Yehuda bread of Shimon Pasi. Machshir nami miles budas lachamisa. I'll find you a case that a machshir comes even after death. You think a machshir can't come after death? That's not. We have a mishnah. A mafresh mois linzirusay. A nazir set aside some funds to buy his karbanos. We have a chatas that'll bring and a shlamim, right? An oila. And what happens? And he died. Sorry, he didn't die yet. He has money set aside. And the question is, what happens to the money? What's the status of the money? One cannot partake from this money. Can't have anah from it. But Menachos, there's no me'ilah. Why? If one uses his money for personal use, he hasn't committed the isra of me'ilah. Because since he hadn't really earmarked which money goes for what korban, so theoretically, all the money, this entire piggy bank, can theoretically be used to buy a shlamim. And as Rashi explained, the shlamim has no me'ilah, except for the fats after the zrika, but the general korban doesn't have any me'ilah. So this money is technically meant to be for a shlamim, which is me'ilah free. So likewise, the money is me'ilah free. Now, mes. Suppose the owner died, and he had some money set aside for his karbanis. Stumim. Stumim means they were unearmarked, unlabeled, just a pile of money for his karbanis. Yipulun and dava. So the halacha is, Rashi brings this halacha Meshach Sinai. You send it to the Ndava, which is that shofar we had in Aman Aleph, where they buy the oilos for the mizbeach. Meforash, and suppose he earmarked which money for what. This is for the chatas, this is for the oila, etc. What do you do with this money after death? So the money that is set aside for the chatas, that's the halacha that you send it to the Yam HaMelech, you destroy it. The mei chatas, you put it out of reach, because you can't have enough from it. Rashi says it's as though there would be an animal chatas here, you let it die, you can't process it, because the owner is no longer around. You can't have enough from this money, but there's no me'ilah because it's meant for destruction, for loss, it's not meant for hakrava. The money for the oila, Yavi ben oila, can use it to buy an oila, right? You're meant to buy an oila with it and use it as a donation for the mizbeach. Umay alan behen, and Oh, we'll see in a minute. It's not necessarily a donation. Actually, it's a manifestation. It's a realization of his carbon, right? So the oila money, you go ahead, you proceed as you were meant to. Yavim by an oila, use it to buy an oila. Umayalam ben, this money now is, since it's meant for an oila, there's meila applicable to this money. What about the money for the shlamim, mei shlamim? Yavim ben shlamim, you proceed and buy a shlamim with it, and you treat it like a shlamim that a nazir would bring, right? As though he would bring it during his lifetime. The nechal niyam, right? The time frame for consumption of the shlamim is like a shlamim of a nazir, in contrast to a regular shlamim which stretches for 2 days. This is only a 1-day experience, like a nazir. Vein turn lechem, there's no bread required because the owner is not around, so there's no bread. And that's the status of his monies. Now the question is, how are we proceeding and being makriv an oila shlamim of a nazir with no owner? These karbanos are meant to be machshir him to complete his process, etc. He's not around to receive that benefit. These qualify as machshirim. And here, clearly, we're doing it after death. And I thought you can't do that. Amar Papa, Hachi ka Amar Rav Yirmiyah. So this question was on Rav Yirmiyah, who told us that a machshir is so related to its owner. In fact, it can't be brought after death. And here we see it could. The answer is, the Rav Yirmiyah meant like this. A regular machshir. A machshir which is critical to the hechsher of the owner. That cannot come lachar misa. So let's say you have a metzora. He has his carbon that's being machshir him. It's completing his process and allowing him to come back and all that, right? That cannot be done lachar misa. There's no owner to benefit from it. There's no point in the carbon. But by a nazir, as we're going to see, although these karbanis are considered machshirim, but since he has a choice of 3 karbanis, and each one could be considered his machshir, the chatas, the oila, the shlamim, so you can't point to a single carbon and say, this is the designated machshir. As we want to see, let's see. Amar Yirmiyah, le'matzinu hechsher kavua debo lachar misa. Hechsher kavua means the absolute machshir. That carbon cannot come out after death. As opposed to these karbanos of the nazir, hechsher she'ena kavua. These oila, these shlam of the nazir, it's not called kavua. It's not absolutely a machshir. Because sometimes the nazir can go back to drinking wine without them, as long as he brings his chatas, for instance. The Maz we learned, the nazir took his haircut after bringing even one of these 3 karbanos, whether it's the chatas or the oila or the shlamim, yatsa. He's good to go. He can go drink his wine, right? So although he's meant to bring all 3, but as long as he brings one, even the chatas, technically that's enough to machshir him, to allow him, to revert back to normal and start drinking his wine. So clearly the oila, the shlamim are not absolute machshirim, and therefore we don't treat them as such, and even after death they can be brought. Meisvei, now comes a kasha, back on Rav. So again, Rav teaches us 2 things regarding a mincha and regarding an asham. Although a regular mincha shlei lishma is kosher, but not by a mincha so'emer, whose primary objective is to be mated the new crop, and it hadn't accomplished that. It failed in its mission. If it was done shlei lishma, so you have to redo it. You haven't. The mincha itself is possible. You have to redo it. Part 2 was regarding machshirim, like the asham nazir, asham metzora. Shlei lishma are possible. Since they come to a machshir, they haven't accomplished that. Meisvei comes the kasha on Rav. Asham metzora, right? That's the case we talked about. Shenishcha shlei lishma. Okay, it was done shlei lishma. Oishalei nita midam el gavi b'hoinais, or something went wrong. The blood wasn't placed on the thumbs of the metzora, so something went wrong in the process. Hareza oila legavi mizbeach. You can still process it on the mizbeach, even shlei lishma, even though he's a machshir. Asham metzora is the one that the Rav spoke about. That shlei lishma is possible. Here we see it's kosher. V'tor nesachim. You have to bring the wines, process it like a regular carbon. Although the owner has to bring a new one. The owner needs a new asham to be machshir. Tiyufta the Rav, tiyufta. Straight out refutation on Rav, we see clearly, even by a machshir. Even though he failed in his mission, the korban itself remains kosher. All the best to you, Natzachar.